All right, so I think we are good. We are live on our YouTube as well, and our session has been put to record as well. And therefore, students who wish to take another view later on, a more scrutinized look, a more revised look, please feel free to watch the webinar that's going to happen on our YouTube channel. I think we have our participants rolling in. So meanwhile, I'll just start with a brief introduction about Next Genius. Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Devika Agarwal from Next Genius Scholarship Program. And thank you for joining us in for the very last session of the day on exploring majors about healthcare, biology, pre-med with Professor Patricia Hunt from Juniata College. A little about Next Genius. We are a registered charitable trust founded in 2014, and we help high school students, that is grade 12, and also students who are in their gap year with full tuition scholarships at our partner colleges and universities in the United States. And I'm very happy to say that we have been partnered with Juniata College since a long time now, and we have a very strong Next Genius community on campus. So if you are in your grade 12, please visit our website, nextgenius.com, and do apply for the scholarships for the year 2020. All right, here's a little about our professor, Patricia Hunt. She's also the director of healthcare professions at Juniata College. And one of the sayings that I read and I really like about is that a trust is the trust that is found in a genuinely therapeutic environment is also a catalyst to create change. And I believe that this holds a lot of significance. Also, also Professor Hunt has received certification as volunteer rape crisis counselor and has also been a facilitator with Green Dot Violence Prevention Program. So I welcome you on board today, and let's see how the structure, how biology, pre-med and healthcare undergraduate programs are structured across 4 years or 5 years. And over to you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Let's see here. How can I start the slideshow? There we go. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so I'm here to talk to you today about biology and health professions programs and how they work across four-year institutions. Just to start off, again, my name is Patricia Hunt. I'm the director of the Health Professions Program here at Juniata College. We're a small liberal arts college located in central Pennsylvania. In terms of biology, biology is the study of all life. And so students who choose to study biology will have a wide range of specializations to choose from. They will take courses in genetics, cellular biology, some pre-medicine courses in epidemiology and virology, maybe histology, so looking at various tissues at a microscopic level, neuroscience, and then also we don't forget about plant sciences and ecology because that's also part of the biology curriculum. Biology students are afforded vast research opportunities. Many students get graduate quality lab experiences with world-renowned faculty where they are able to publish their own independent research or present at national and international conferences. And so biology is very hands-on. A lot of the courses that you take in biology will have some sort of laboratory component to them. And so typical courses found in a biology and curriculum may include biochemistry and molecular biology. A lot of times, some institutions have a separate biology or biochemistry department. Other institutions sort of share responsibilities for the biochemistry area between their biology professors and then their chemistry professors as well. You'll also experience courses in developmental biology, toxicology, ecology, invertebrate zoology, so looking at insects and mollusks and some animals from the ocean, or land animals, ichthyology, ornithology courses. Nutrition courses are a lot of times taught in biology programs in some way. And that for the pre-health students, you're going to get your cellular biology, your physiology, your anatomy courses, reproductive biology. And so all of those courses tend to be taught in a biology curriculum. Focusing, because I wanted to focus a little bit more on the health professions here, I wanted to walk you through some areas of health professions because, you know, medicine seems to be the area that most people are familiar with, but there's a vast variety of areas that students can work in the health professions. And these include areas like dentistry, physician assistant, occupational and speech therapies, nursing, veterinary. Some students want to work with animals, and so large animal vet or small animal veterinary medicine, naturopathy. But then there's some other areas in like social work and genetic counseling where it's a lot working with individual patients and helping them through, you know, whatever health crisis they may be experiencing at the time. For all health professions, a solid academic foundation is key. And so I wanted to present this slide just to give you an idea of the average GPA for a lot of health professions programs. You know, and it is quite competitive. And so allopathic medicine is probably the most competitive field in general. And that's the MD that everyone's familiar with. And then, you know, as you get down to the other fields, you know, it's important that you have a strong foundation in academics. There we go. All right, so medicine. A lot of students are interested in medicine. In the United States, we have two educational models for medicine. There's allopathic medicine and osteopathic medicine. Allopathic medicine is probably the more popular. There are more programs in the United States that are in the allopathic area. They'd certainly get more applicants every year. That number's from 2019. I've heard from the American Association of Medical Colleges that the number of applicants this cycle, so this summer, is actually closer to 70,000 applicants in the system. And so there's a lot of people applying this year. There are many MD, PhD programs. So students who have more of an academic focus to their medical desires, there's a lot of MD, PhD programs out there. Licensing occurs through the USMLEs. And then they participate in the US, we participate in a match program. Osteopathic medicine, on the other hand, there are fewer programs. Very few DO PhD programs, so not as much of a research focus in osteopathic medicine. They take similar licensing exams, and they also participate in the same residency match program. This slide is just more of a compare and contrast to the two. The MCAT, so where it says average MCAT, the MCAT is the exam that students take as their entrance exam into medical school. There is a difference between allopathic and osteopathic schools in terms of what score they use. Osteopathic medicine seems to be a little bit more holistic. They also tend to take candidates who are more non-traditional. And so that's why you see a lower MCAT score in that area. Repetition of courses, you know, it depends on the school. One thing that's factored in for all pre-medicine students is a science GPA. And a science GPA is calculated by using your biology, chemistry, physics, and math courses only for the allopathic schools. So any course you take that has a prefix of biology, chemistry, those will be included. Osteopathic medicine, they don't include math, but they include something like other sciences. So if a student takes a statistics course or a microbiology course that has a different heading, neuroscience is another area that osteopathic schools will include in a science GPA, because a lot of times neuroscience courses are either taught in a biology department or they may be taught through a psychology department. They have required letters of recommendation, but what's most impactful, I think, for this presentation is the number of international enrollees. So you can see the number of international enrollees is quite small for medicine here in the United States. And that is true. There are some challenges and considerations for international applicants to medical school. And so I'm going to address those a little bit. The first challenge is unfortunately finances. Most pre-health institutions require some sort of escrow account to be established for the student. it varies amongst schools how many years of tuition they want paid up front. So there are some programs out there that only ask for a year to be put in an escrow account, but there are institutions out there that will ask for all 4 years up front. You do not have access to federal funding in the United States. So you're primarily going to be looking at private bank loans, some governments will sponsor students for medical education in the United States. And there are some scholarships out there that are merit-based. So, the more academically achieving you are, there are some scholarships out there for non-US citizens. Challenge number 2 is just obtaining an offer. This is some national data. It's a few years old in terms of from individual schools, how many international applications they receive. And so schools, will accept, anywhere between 20, they may receive anywhere between 26 and about 800 applications. Typically they receive about 400 applications. They offer anywhere from 0 to 67 interviews to international applicants. Typically for your private medical schools, they may interview about 25 international students, but they only really accept, so matriculant is the students who actually start medical school, and that ranges anywhere from about 1 to 20 with an average of 5. And so the international pool, applicant pool is in medical school is about less than 2% of the population. So we have to sort of think outside the box as an international student. And so there's some alternative pathways to medicine, not to say that the door is closed, but we may have to think outside the box. One of those alternative pathways, and probably the most common alternative, is through MD, PhD programs. These are students where they combine some traditional academic graduate school research desires to help supplement the MD, the medical education. And so a lot of times through those programs, you can get some advocacy from the graduate school portion to help advocate for accepting you into the medical education program. Sometimes those are combined into through the medical school, and sometimes they're separated, and it's a separate MD program through the medical school and a separate PhD program through the graduate school of that institution. A lot of the funding for the PhD portion is available to international students, and so a lot of students will do that through medical scientist training programs. Alternative pathway number 2 is just taking some what we call glide years or second gap years after your college education. A lot of times this is a way to establish more money to pay for it up front. You may be able to find some sponsorship from an employer or through your government, more experiences, or you'd have the opportunity to gain permanent residency or citizenship in the United States. And that will go a long way to helping you get into a US medical school. Alternative pathway number 3 is through a non-US medical school. So this could be a medical school in your home country or through an offshore or non-US medical school. So those could be schools in the Caribbean, Australia, Ireland, Israel, Mexico. And students who do offshore medical schools do have the opportunity to apply for the United States match program, so the national match program here in the US. So it is possible to go to an international medical school and still come back and do a residency in the United States and ultimately practice in the United States if that's your goal. Another pathway that a lot of international students will explore is another clinical program. And so while medicine has some barriers to it, a lot of other clinical programs do not have barriers. And so areas such as pharmacy, nursing, dentistry, podiatry, and optometry they are very international friendly. And so it's important to recognize that we can't, that we need to sometimes think outside the box and recognize that there are alternatives to medicine that are more welcoming to international populations. And so I'm going to go through a couple of those alternative clinical pathways. So the first is dentistry. Dentistry is an area that they are one of those areas that do require a significant amount of money up front through escrow. But you can see the international enrollment for 2018 was about 4.2%. So it is a little bit higher than the medical school, than the medical area. It does require 4 years of academic study after graduation from university. But there are 10 different specialties beyond a general practice, such as orthodontics, oral surgery, pediatrics, endodontics, oral pathology. And so these are ways that you can sort of really specialize and get a way to work with patients in a very clinical way. Next is optometry. There are 23 schools of optometry in the United States, and there's about a 74% acceptance rate for all optometry schools. They are very international friendly. About 50% of international students who apply on a given year are accepted into optometry school. It does also requires 4 years of schooling, and you can even specialize in that too, such as low vision, neurological sciences, behavioral optometry. And so there's lots of different ways you can even further your education in that area as well. Pharmacy school. Pharmacy school is incredibly international friendly. There are 144 schools of pharmacy in the United States and Canada. There's a PharmCAS is the application system. So not all the schools participate in that system. But you can see of pharmacy schools, 71% of international students were accepted. And so honestly, that's incredible. It does require 3 to 4 years of academic study, but you do not actually need to finish your bachelor's degree in order to matriculate into pharmacy school. So a lot of pharmacy schools, they just want students to have some prerequisite coursework. And for some programs, once you finish that prerequisite coursework, you can jump right into a PharmD program. Podiatry is probably one of the forgotten medical fields, or just there's less emphasis on it. There are 9 US programs here in the United States. They do expect students to take the MCAT just like a medical student, but there are several DPM PhD programs. So if you are interested in research, there's definitely ways that you can do that. Podiatry focuses primarily on the foot and ankle. And so podiatrists do surgery, they do therapies, but they're kind of like orthopedic surgeons but they only work with like the ankles and the feet. So if you're interested in surgery, this could be a great alternative route that gives you sort of the high energy, the attention to detail that draws people to surgery. You can also do this through a podiatry program. So again, there's lots of different areas in medicine that you should consider if you're interested in healthcare. You don't have to limit yourself just to medicine. And so just again to show you the wide variety of areas that exist out there. All of these programs though are highly competitive, and so we need to be conscious of the things that health profession schools are going to look for. And so, first and foremost is going to be your academic record. Did you complete all the prerequisites? What is your GPA? Standardized test scores. This is how they're going to say, can you academically handle the rigors of our professional school? Outside of that, another big portion of what they evaluate candidates on is things like letters of recommendation, your healthcare related experiences, research experiences, extracurriculars. So how do you spend your time? I hear from a lot of admissions personnel in medical school and dental schools and the other health professions areas. They really want to know how students spend their time. So are they involved in extracurriculars on campus? Do they take on leadership roles? Study abroad, internships, co-ops. Do you understand the practice of health profession? They look for professionalism and maturity, and an awareness of diversity. So these are all the things that they look for when they're evaluating candidates. So that's really all I have. Again, my name is Patricia Hunt, and there's my email if anybody has any specific questions. But at this time, we're just going to open it up to some Q&A.